Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our publishing and coaching services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Pia Martin, author of Building Healthy Humans. Pia, welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thank you very much, Paul, for having me on.
Absolutely. Are you ready to get started?
Absolutely.
Question number one. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
Well, it's a really good question. I don't think that I have one particular piece of advice, but I've got a couple of little tips. The first one, which I ran into myself, and I know some of my fellow writers were part of a group ran into, is that you need to release the idea that it needs to be perfect, that the book needs to be perfect. And you need to get your message out into the world. That's the most important thing. Your book becomes a vehicle for a much larger platform. One of the ways that helped me to do this was I wrote my intro last, because I think writing your why and trying to communicate that is very vulnerable, and it takes a lot of thought to dig back through. The other thing that I did that I thought was really helpful is I organized my chapters based on what I thought my readers really wanted to know the answers to. So then I went about answering those questions in a way and a style and a philosophy that I wanted to communicate. And the other thing is tracking your resources as you go along. You don't want to have to go back in and go, oh, wow, I got that piece from here, and you know, where shall I put it? And who told me this? Where did I get that quote? So I think getting your idea out into the world and not waiting years before it's sort of perfect.
Well, you mentioned a couple of key points there, which is absolutely spot on, where you're talking about, you know, making sure that you get your book out there, because one of the recurring themes we've had on this show, and I've probably mentioned this in at least 10 different episodes, is that done is better than perfect. Just get it out there.
Absolutely.
And then you bring up another great point about organizing your chapters based on what you feel your readers will enjoy too. That's a very innovative approach to do that. And it also helps keep their attention, because not everyone always finishes a book that they start. So if you're gearing it towards their most interested areas, then that's really going to help keep the engagement going throughout the book.
Yeah, and I think you'll have a lot more success too if you really understand your target audience and their burning desires and what they need the answers to. I think that's, good. I agree.
Well, and I like the idea of what you're talking about with your citations too, making sure you get those done as you progress through the book versus having to do it at the very end. So if you are citing a lot of different sources, then that can be quite the job if you haven't done that throughout the process already.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems to suck energy out of you when that happens.
Yeah, it can definitely be a process. So it's a great idea, just doing it basically one chapter at a time.
Yeah.
So what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
I think that there's a few answers to that question. I think the first thing is, for most people, is getting someone to notice you when you only have a small list and you're not very well known. So that's very difficult for a lot of people. The other thing is that as a writer or a clinician or an authority on a particular subject, you're not expected to be really brilliant at everything. And getting your book published is you need, help and support in that area. You can't be expected to be really good at everything. So I think that I would encourage people to get help and support in this area. This is what I did. I didn't think that I had the bandwidth, nor the expertise, nor the knowledge to get my book published on my own. So I reached out for help to a service much like yours, I'm sure, that helped me really get the support and the grounding to get my book off the ground. It's one thing to get it written, it's another to get it published and promoted. So it was really helpful to me. It's like, get the help you need to get the book out into the world.
Yeah, exactly. Because one of the references we always talk about in the podcast is the last thing you want to happen is have your book disappear into the Amazon rainforest, because you have millions of books out there and you want to make sure that your book is launched correctly. And sometimes the best strategy with that is to outsource that and go with a coach or a publisher who's someone who's going to be able to have a system that they can help support you, because it takes a lot of the guesswork out of the process.
Yeah, and it's really helped me, and the strategy worked really well. They told me how I could support at my end, and it really worked well. I became a bestseller very quickly.
Well, speaking of bestsellers, let's talk about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that worked well.
Okay. One of the things I did was I encouraged my tribe to come along for the ride. So I started talking a little bit on social media about the fact that I was writing a book and what it was about, and then I'd give little updates. And before I released it, I also went out to my tribe and said, look, I'm thinking about the following titles. What do you think? Do you have any feedback whatsoever? And that was a really great for me. I got feedback that I wouldn't have expected. I got lots and lots of engagement. So by the time that my book came out, there was already a lot of buzz and a lot of excitement. So, when it was launched, I was able to reach out to the same tribe who'd come along for the ride and built the excitement with me, to ask them to read the book, read a few chapters, and give me a review. So it really, really worked well. And I did launch it initially for 99 cents. So I made it very, very available for everyone. So that got me a lot of eyeballs and a lot of really good feedback. And it was just great fun to involve my tribe in the process.
Well, and you mentioned utilizing the tribe for your process. What specific elements did you use with them? So was it about different book covers, or was it just getting feedback on the book content?
Different book covers, different titles, different taglines, just encouraging them to reach out to others and say, if you know anyone that would be interested in this topic, add them in, have them follow me on Facebook, Instagram, that kind of thing.
And let's talk about your favorite book. So what was your favorite book, and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
Well, Paul, I'm sorry to say I don't have one favorite book.
You have a few,
sorry,
right?
I wish I have a few.
That's fine.
Well, I'll keep it short though. The first one is The Omnivore's Dilemma by Michael Pollan. He was a New York Times writer, and he wrote a book called The Omnivore's Dilemma, and it's about, the tagline on that is eating mostly plants and not too much. And what was great about this book is it came out 10 years ago or so. So, he was way ahead of the trend, and it speaks to my philosophy, and it's what I encourage not only my patients, but also, people reading my book. That's kind of the theme there. So I was really encouraged that, that was really a cornerstone for me. I also love High Performance Habits by Brandon Burchard. He's such a motivating speaker and author. And what I like most about his cornerstone message is live, love, and matter. And if you run your life through those filters, it's really sort of just puts everything in perspective, and you can cut down the noise, and you can become more productive and do more out in the world and serve more people. So I love that. Love, live, and matter. I also love The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. I heard about him, I think about 16 years ago. And he's an MD, and he was working on cellular biology, and he was doing this groundbreaking work on how our thoughts change our biological expression of health. So it was fascinating. We all used to think, well, it was just food, or it was just stress, or it was just what we drank, or it wasn't lack of sleep. But he was showing how the way we think has a dramatic effect on how we express health. And last but not least, I love a new book by Dr. Ben Lynch called Dirty Genes. Your DNA is not your destiny. Your choices are your destiny. So it's the central theme of my book. So again, I feel very validated that he's done so well with his book, and it's just reinforcing what we're talking about. And it's also my keynote speech, the power of epigenetics. You know, we are all human, but we're also very unique. So I love that book too.
I love those themes too: food, mindset, productivity, and DNA, and not necessarily just being, this is my DNA, so whatever. It's like, no, you're going to take that, and this is what you're going to do with it. So I love the fact that you've got those 4 books, and they seem to all cover one key area in that.
Mm-hmm.
So for a final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
Well, you like this one because this one comes from a Texan. It is, if you think taking care of yourself is selfish, change your mind. If you don't, you are simply ducking your responsibilities. And the person that said that was the governor of Texas, Ann Richards.
Nice.
Yeah, you might remember her. She was quite sassy and outspoken.
She was quite the character.
Quite the character. But it's absolutely true.
Yep.
You know, if we can't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of others, and we can't do the good we need to do in the world. So.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I learned that lesson the hard way 7 years ago. And that actually what started my own book journey was I was diagnosed with all these health issues. And my doctor told me if I don't get my act together, I was around 340 pounds at the time. So if you don't drop this weight, then you're not going to be here in 5 years. Unfortunately, it's now been 7 years and basically in the best shape of my life, because it's one of those things where if you don't take care of it, then it's going to do you in real quick.
Oh, I'm so glad. Oh, that's such a great story, Paul. That's wonderful.
Well, and the funny thing is, that was actually my first book, and that's what led me into publishing and doing the podcast. So it's just funny. It really is funny how life works. And when you were sharing the message about the different books that you recommended in that quote, it just all connected with that.
Oh, that's great news. Congratulations on your transformation.
Thank you. It's and as you know, it's an everyday thing. It's one of those things where it's every single day it's a battle.
That's right. Every day you're choosing.
Absolutely. Well, Pia, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
www.drpia.com, or they can find me at Dr. Pia on Facebook. Is probably the 2 places that they can reach me the best.
Excellent. Well, thank you again for being a guest on our show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how to get your book published with a proven system that works, grab a free copy of my book at getpublishedpodcast.com.